I cannot believe what we just watched. Just Baseball Show, Jack Peter. Today is Friday, October 4th. It is essentially functioning as the division series preview where we walk through a strength, a weakness, two strengths, two weaknesses actually, for every team that is playing in the National League Division Series, the American League Division Series. Of course, we will pick a winner in however many games we deem them victorious. But we do have to recap the only baseball game on Thursday night. That was an unreal win for the New York Mets over the Milwaukee Brewers, and now it is the Mets taking on the Philadelphia Phillies. Save the MGM, Reed. You have some things that you want to say right now. I can tell you're begging to open your mouth, and I'm going to see how long I can drag this intro out to keep you muzzled. What are you feeling right now? What are your emotions? What's going through your mind, Peter? Anything that you want to go? Go.
Mets fans, do you believe in miracles? Oh my dear Lord. Pete Alonso, after not having a great game, not having a great series so far, you go up against the net. You don't make the catch. You're an impending free agent. What are you going to do with the game on the line? He goes Oppo. That's the Pete Alonso that Mets fans have been clamoring for. What a moment. Genuinely one of the greatest moments that we've had in the history of the Just Baseball Show. That was pure electricity. And I'm going to break down the entire game. We're going to go all the innings. You're going to get a full breakdown. Then we're going to go Mets, Phillies, and we're going to do all of it. But I'm in pure shock. Like, you know me. I'm a takes guy. I got a lot to say all the time.
Yeah.
I am. I'm a takes guy. My mouth was just wide open. Flies were flying in it for 20 straight minutes. And I thought as soon as this game is over, like, we're still in that mode of pure electricity. We just saw it happen, and now we press the record button. I don't have much to say. This is the one moment that has left me speechless. Do you believe in miracles? This is why baseball is the greatest sport that ever will be, because it ain't over till it's over. Do you believe in miracles?
You keep saying it. That's a lifted line from the guy that's calling Falcons. Who are the Falcons playing tonight?
Oh, who gives a shit? Do
I'm
you
with you.
believe in
I'm
miracles?
totally with you, but that's the Al Michaels line. Just a heads up. But
I'm sorry for stealing your line, Al Michaels. Do you believe in miracles?
this was close to a perfect ball game. Like, it had everything I wanted.
Yeah. So
And
you
it
want me to break it
was,
down?
yeah, like, go ahead, but I mean, yeah, I just want to bask in that for a moment
Yeah, go
because,
ahead. Go ahead.
like, for I think it got stale for some people, but there's something about a scoreless tie that, or
Yeah.
like a scoreless game that just gets me going like that, where it builds and we're through four and it's like still nothing, and then we're through six and it's like still nothing, and then it's Jake Bowers and Sal Frelick on back-to-back pitches. I'm stealing it. You go.
So we'll fast forward to the seventh inning because we're going to talk about both pitchers. But the first runs came in the bottom of the seventh against Jose Budo. But also, I wouldn't be doing it justice. This is the Mets against the Brewers. Get the fingers ready. Round up. All right, let's get back to it.
Cool.
First runs came in the bottom of the seventh against Jose Budo. Jake Bowers, pinch hit home run. First pinch hit, go ahead home run in the seventh inning or later in an elimination game in the playoffs, right? A winner take all game ever. Let me repeat that again. The first pinch hit, go ahead home run in the seventh inning or later of a winner take all game ever. Then Sal Frelick follows that up with an almost identical home run. Both were hit 107 miles an hour, and Sal Frelick's was hit just 3 feet farther. Now, Brewers get two runners on, and Contreras has a pop out to first base, but the net was a factor, and Pete Alonso couldn't make the play. And I even wrote down in my notes here, Jack, Pete Alonso having a bad potential last game with the Mets. What a terrible take. Then Freddie Peralta comes in the eighth inning, shut it down, but was on 2 days rest. We'll quickly interject here in the roundup. What? I
One
mean, I
day
get it, but
rest.
what?
1 day rest. He
It
threw
was,
game one.
oh,
He
true.
sat game two.
Yeah.
And then he threw game three with no off day.
I mean, it worked.
Yeah, it
I
worked for
guess.
an inning. Like he would be designed to go, for a 30 pitch bullpen that day, like in the typical throwing program. But dude, like, I'm with you. What was that? Piamps was hanging out.
I guess Piamps has been getting destroyed by the Mets, I guess. I mean, in that game, in game one, was
Well,
that
he
Pat
helped get you
Murphy's?
here.
I know. I didn't understand it. Like
I
I
didn't
wish
like it. I
yeah.
didn't like it. I listen, and we can play the hindsight's 2020 game, but I didn't like it.
Yeah, I didn't like it either. It didn't make sense
And
because then
a very, yeah.
the only thing I understand is you put your best foot forward in order to win the game. Like I get that. But is that's going to hurt you in the next series if you win, and you're telling me that the third best bullpen ERA, or second, excuse me, in all of baseball this year, you couldn't have a guy coming in the eighth to shut it
No, like
down?
you need to interject Freddie Peralta on 1 day rest. Why?
It,
I thought Cespedes Family Barbecue had a hilarious tweet. Pat Murphy going to Freddie Peralta 2 days after his start in an elimination game is a great reminder that Murphy is at the heart of it all, a college baseball coach.
that was
Murphy was
pretty
the longtime coach at Arizona State. I think he was the head coach at Notre Dame for a little bit too, but like hilarious note there because this is exactly what you see in the Super Regional, and there was I'll go as far as to say no reason to see Freddie Peralta in that
yeah.
game.
No, not really. Whatever. He gets through it, and we move to the ninth. Devin Williams comes in. Top of the ninth inning. Francisco Lindor, gritty walk. I mean, Williams is giving him the business, going fastball, airbender, changeup, fastball, changeup. I mean, he's giving him everything. Might have been a swing. I don't think it was. Do you think it was a swing?
I don't think so.
Close, but no, I don't think it was a swing either.
Close, but no.
Works a gritty walk. Then Mark Vientos strikes out. And at that moment, I was thinking to myself, okay, might be over. But then Brandon Nimmo with 2 strikes, singles to make it first and third. And then Pete Alonso walks up to the plate and hits an oppo tank to give the Mets a 3-2 lead. One of the most electric home runs I've ever witnessed. I mean, backs against the wall. It wasn't with 2 outs, but still with 1 out in the top of the ninth against Devin Williams. He hadn't given up 3 runs in a game all season long. And he did against these Mets. And Pete Alonso, as soon as he hit it, he knew it. And it's not like he hit it 500 feet or anything like that. It barely got over the wall, but he knew it. And it got out. And then the Mets weren't done. Jose Iglesias ground out. Then Jesse Winker hit for the second time, then steals a base. Starling Marte gets him in with an RBI single. And Jesse Winker slammed his helmet. Now, I saw even on Twitter and in our Just Baseball chat, like people were like, oh, Winker, like, why are you doing that? Screw that. Screw that.
Yeah.
This is the playoffs. Adrenaline is at an all-time high. Emotions at an all-time high. I love the passion. I love the emotion. People are calling it eyewash. I don't. He was just
No, it's
fired
not
up.
eyewash. It's not eyewash. It's intensity. I think the reason that it was negatively received was because it is Jesse Winker. Like it's
Could be.
attached to the guy. It's
Yeah.
not attached to the display of emotion. It's attached to Jesse Winker doing that, and that's just never going to rub people the right way.
Yeah, which is fine. I loved it personally. And then David Peterson comes in, which I was a little bit surprised that he was going to come into this
No,
game.
I thought it made some sense, man.
No,
Like,
it made some sense, like much more sense than Freddie Peralta coming in. But
right.
I was just bottom of the ninth. You go to David Peterson. I just that that resonated with me. They went to their guy in that spot.
So here's
So
the counter. Who else were you going to go to?
no, I don't know. Like I don't even have a better answer for you.
No, like
Well, Ryan
Stanek.
Stanek had done well, right? He's a reliever with tons of pedigree. Like I know Diaz had already come in and he pitched really well, by the way.
Yeah. So the answer was going to be Garrett or Stanek at that point. Like it wasn't going to be Phil Maton again after what happened 2 days ago.
No, definitely not.
So
I thought it was interesting that they went to David Peterson. Sal Frelick does single to start it off, and I'm thinking to myself, this lead ain't safe. This game is on crack. We're gonna get it. And I was already thinking in my own head, Jackson Churrio's gonna come up with a runner on and 2 outs and hit another Oppo home run to tie it. But then David Peterson settled down, strikes out Joey Ortiz, and then Bryce Terang, who I mean, I didn't look it up. When's the last time he grounded into a double play with that speed?
He absolutely flies. Terang had what, 51
Lots.
bags this year?
Yeah, something like that. Wait, did he have 51?
I think Bryce Terang stole 50 bags.
Good for him. And then I did Grounder do a double play, and I love Lindor taking it himself and just firing over a BB. And the Mets win and move to the NLDS.
Bryce Terang 50 for 56 in the stolen base department this year. He bounced into 8 double plays
We
throughout the
did.
course of the regular season. But that play resulting in a double play is excellence on Lindor's part.
Mhm.
And the thing that like struck me, I think, most about Lindor is after they won game one, I watched, SNY chat with Lindor. And Lindor was incredibly emotional. I'm talking game one on Monday, not game one of the wild card
Like
series. I'm
against the
talking when they
Braves.
secured their spot in the postseason. Yes, against the Braves in Atlanta. Lindor was very emotional after that home run. And then game three, Sports Center has him on like 90 seconds after the final out is recorded. And Lindor again was like very pensive, very emotional. And I'm just thinking, like, this is what he came to New York for.
Yep.
Yeah, it's great that they threw him $341 million, but he came to New York to be the leader, to be the best player, to be the superstar on the New York Mets. And this guy, like, I'm not going to say he's going to go down as an all time Met, but like,
Who
at
knows?
the end of the day, man, he has gotten them to the postseason. And the fact the ball came to him
Yeah.
and he showed off his defensive brilliance on the last play of that game. It was poetic, man. And like you really don't get baseball poetry often, but you get it a couple times in a given season. And I thought Alonso, after a shit week and a shit game,
Yeah.
putting that ball just over the right field wall and that ball heading to Lindor for a chance to show off the defensive mastery, like those were two poetic moments in a half-hour stretch in this baseball game.
And all of these moments, even coming back against the Braves, they've happened in a matter of 4 days.
Yeah.
I mean, Mets fans, how's your like blood pressure? Are you guys
It,
okay?
I'm sure it's very high. I will say they are supplying the jolt that October needs.
Yeah.
If it
And
weren't for the
and the
Mets,
and the gritty tags.
what? And the
And the
gritty
gritty
ties,
tags.
sure. But like, if it wasn't for the Mets, what's our takeaway from the wild card series?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, this happened again.
I mean, the takeaway is the gritty tags, but I understand where you're coming from.
Yeah, but the gritty tigers swept in Houston, and we're
True.
talking about the possible end of the Houston dynasty. Like that's the takeaway from this series, I feel like, from a baseball scope.
Yeah.
But now it's like the Mets have grabbed October by the gonads and they're running with it. I think they are the jolt that we needed in October, and I'm so excited to monitor the energy of the New York Mets moving forward.
How about Jose Quintana? Just going back because we skipped right to the seventh because that's where all the scoring happened. 6 innings, 4 hits, 0 runs, 1 walk, 5 strikeouts. I mean, how many years have you been a Jose Quintana guy? What'd you see?
I saw vintage Quintana, and Quintana, like there was a point where I think he was 92, 93 with the White Sox, but it was funny. I slapped one of our social czars, Elijah Evans, and one of our graphics gods, Brandon Anderson, in a group text. And I said, I miss Quintana, man. Like I texted him that after, his fifth scoreless inning. And they were like, dude, I was just thinking that he's one of those guys that I don't think was underappreciated by White Sox fans, but I think he was underappreciated around the league when he was a Chicago White Sox. And don't forget, like he net the White Sox Eloy Jimenez and Dylan Cease in that trade to the Cubs. He
Yeah.
was a real pitcher. This guy, 208 innings in 2016 at a 3.2 ERA. He finished 10th in Cy Young voting. That's his only All-Star appearance. But as a White Sox, this guy over 1,000 innings across 6 years, a 3.51 ERA. He goes to the Cubs, ERA in the low fours over 4 years, and then he's bounced around since then. But I was so happy for Jose Quintana and the fact that he is doing exactly what he did when he was 24 years old in 2013 and he's doing it still as a 35-year-old in 2024. It's amazing to see. I will say I said this game was near perfect and this game gave me everything that I wanted because Quintana was being matched by Tobias Myers.
Yes,
And
he
I
does.
will gladly eat shit on Tobias Myers. I'm sorry for doubting you in May. I'm sorry for doubting you in June. I'm sorry for doubting you in July. This was so ballsy from Tobias Myers last night.
Tobias Myers went 5 innings, 2 hits, no earned, no walks, 5 strikeouts in his first ever postseason game. He averaged 20 inches of induced vertical break while averaging 94.5 miles an hour after sitting 92.9 in the regular season. I mean, this was peak. And he went against that Mets lineup, who, scored 8 runs in the first game.
Yeah.
Then in the second game, there was runners in scoring position problem, but they still put up 3 runs. Right? They were hitting everybody, not Tobias Myers. And what I was so impressed with Tobias, and I say this a lot about a lot of young players, but when you just have confidence in your stuff like that, right? Even in the first inning, that strikeout against Brandon Nimmo, right? You go down in the count, it's 3-1. What do? 2 fastballs. A little bit elevated, but pretty much down the middle, saying, I dare you to hit my best stuff. And Brandon Nimmo swings straight through. And you could see that thing just jumping out of his hand.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a real pitcher who had a real performance in a big time game. Shout out Tobias Myers.
Those front 7 innings were perfect Brewers baseball, where it's Myers for 5. And I didn't love that they lifted Myers after 5. I think he could have gone an easy 6th.
Yeah,
But
I agree. But then you go to like McGill throwing a
yeah,
hundred,
McGill
then
was throwing
Mears
fuzz.
buzz.
Mears looked amazing.
Amazing.
He looked
He's so
amazing.
good, dude. He's so
No, he's
nasty.
not, but like he
Yeah, he
looked
is.
amazing.
He's throwing
Oh,
98 at the knees with just an insane breaker.
oh God, he looked so sharp
So
in game
sharp.
3. I mean,
And then
tell
Freddie
you what,
Peralta
yeah,
cut it down.
that was so weird. Credit to the Brewers for an amazing season, but
Yeah.
holy crap, the New York Mets.
Holy crap, the New York Mets. So let's talk NLDS.
I'm
Let's
in.
talk Mets Phillies.
So here's how we're going to do it. Again, you're going to hear it on the back half for Detroit, Cleveland, for KC, New York, and for Padres, Dodgers. But we split the teams up. So you've got the Phillies, I've got the Mets. We identified 2 strengths and 2 weaknesses. We're going to pitch them, and then we're going to decide who wins how many games.
Yep.
Then you're going to see that on social with like the graphic and all that stuff, and it'll be great. So
It'll be great. You want
you
me to
start with
start?
the Phillies.
I'll start with the Phillies. So I think a major strength for Philadelphia is lineup depth. I think it's just a good reminder because, with all the wild card games, like you might forget about these number 1 seeds, like who they have in the lineup. Kyle Schwarber, Trey Turner, Bryce Harper, Alec Boehm, Nick Castellanos, JT Realmuto, Brandon Marsh, Bryson Stott, Austin Hayes, Josh Rojas. Where's the break? You could say
I,
Rojas.
Johan Rojas, not Josh Rojas.
Oh, I got so many things in my mind. It's
Yeah,
late.
I
Pete
understand.
Alonso just hit a big time home run.
Yeah, Mariners still eliminated.
Mariners still. Where's the break? So that's a major strength because, it's easy to say you got a good lineup, but I don't think any lineup has the depth that Philly does. Now, you could say the Padres and the Dodgers and maybe even potentially the Yankees have more firepower and maybe they might be the better lineup, maybe. But in terms of depth, that's so important in the playoffs that in a big moment, right, it doesn't have to be Harper. It could be Brandon Marsh down there. It could be JT Realmuto. So when any Philly steps to the plate, they can do damage from 1 to 9. Maybe it's not Rojas, but he's going to
1 to 8.
yeah, 1 to 8. But still, I mean, sometimes Austin Hayes is going to be in the lineup and he's not even going to be in there. So when it's that lineup, there are no breaks. And I think it's a major strength that not every team can say.
Yeah, I hear you on that. I would put the Padres and the Dodgers up there. Like if you could do a, pound for pound, let's decide each spot in the lineup. I think that it's close, and I feel like the Dodgers would grade out a little bit better than the Philly lineup, and maybe the Padres grade out a little bit better, but I'm with you. Like that is the firm top 3, and there's nobody that comes close to that next echelon
Well, the
in terms of
Yankees.
lineup depth.
The Yankees first. Maybe not depth. Like I understand what you're saying in terms of depth. Like 1 to 9, there are no
Yeah,
breaks.
and that's what you're saying too.
Yeah.
Like Judge and Soto obviously propel the Yankees higher, but when you're talking lineup depth, I think it's probably the Padres and the Phillies that are 1-2 because the Dodger lineup, like there might
Drops off
be
a little.
there might be a run to the litter in the 9 hole, that kind of thing. So My first Met strength is Mets magic.
Yeah,
I know it sounds simple, but they have the hot hand.
that's the thing. Like playoffs is all about momentum, and when you have the hot hand, that could be as
Yeah.
much of a strength as
It,
anybody.
their biggest strength right now is momentum. I firmly believe that. Like Met magic right now is the best thing that the New York Mets have going for them.
100%. All right, next strength for the Phillies. I mean, again, obvious, but this starting rotation is as deep and as good as any starting rotation in the
Yeah.
playoffs.
Yeah.
Zach Wheeler. Need I say more? Sure, I'll say more just because he's awesome. 2.42 ERA in 63 innings in the playoffs. 2.42. Aaron Nola, 3.70 ERA in the playoffs in 48 innings. Do you know that his career playoff ERA and his career ERA are the exact same? 3.70.
Hmm. I
Isn't
did
that
not.
funny?
I like
3.70
that.
ERA in the playoffs in 48 innings, 3.70 career ERA in over 1,600 innings in the regular season. That's a little
Wow.
quirk.
It,
But
it's a good quirk. It's a
what we
good thing
do
to
know
have.
is that Nola lowers the blood pressure for Phillies fans. Like when Nola comes in, we're due for a good start to keep you in the ball game. And then
Yes.
Ranger Suarez. Now I know he struggled, but if you're telling me that is in with the bright lights, 1.62 ERA, career in the playoffs in 33 innings,
Dude.
yeah, I'm going to take that. I don't care
Wow.
how he's been pitching because he's a guy who can just build momentum with one
Yeah.
start and then go on a roll.
Right. And the answer is he hasn't been throwing well. But I'm
Yeah.
with you. You wipe the slate clean and this guy can turn it on. I mean, we saw Brandon Fott wipe the slate clean last year.
Yeah, exactly. And I was in Citizens Bank Park watching him against Strider, and that was masterful. I mean,
Yeah.
he can have just straight masterful performances. And then, of course, you have Christopher Sanchez, who's only thrown a handful of innings in the playoffs in his career, but during the regular season was one of the best pitchers in Major League Baseball. They can go
Yeah.
four deep. Can anyone else go four deep like that? I don't think so.
No, now with the Musgrove injury, I don't think anybody else can go four deep except that do you count Tyler Holton as the opener and Ty Madden as the long man as the four?
Yes,
Because I
I
would
do.
call the Tigers four deep if that's the case.
I think the Yankees, you can make the argument, can go four deep with Cole, Rodon, Luis Heel, and
Stroman.
Clark Schmidt.
Oh,
I think it's gonna be Schmidt over Stroman, definitely.
interesting.
Schmidt's a beast. But the thing is, they none of them have proven it like the Phillies have.
Right.
So we can say the talent they can go four deep.
Yeah,
Phillies have proven it so many times. That's why the Phillies are just in a different echelon.
fair. Second strength for the New York Mets. Francisco Lindor and Pete Alonso are on this team. Like Lindor has been amazing all year long, and Alonso I know had a bad week, and bad game three until the very end with one swing. But that's the kind of swing that could get Pete going in a postseason series. And they have two guys that have proven to be two of the best hitters in all of Major League Baseball over the course of their careers. There aren't very many teams in Major League Baseball that have a duo to the caliber of Francisco Lindor and Pete Alonso. And they're riding different waves of momentum. I'd say Alonso's is more of a jolt and Lindor's is more of like that steady carry into the postseason. But, Judge and Soto, they're not going to match that. They're not matching Otani and Betts. I don't think they're matching Tatis and Machado, but they're right there after that.
Yeah.
And I think you cannot deny this duo.
Yeah. I just shot out of a cannon like into this series against the Phillies. But the thing is, you're facing a Phillies team where Jack, similar to the Padres, which we're going to talk about later in this episode.
Yeah.
What's the Phillies' weakness? I found one kind of for the exercise because we have
Yeah.
to try and find two weaknesses on every team. Phillies fans,
Yeah.
the bullpen, it's sixth in ERA among the remaining 8 postseason teams.
Which is crazy because on paper,
Yeah, it's
that
good.
bullpen is disgusting.
No, they have the 14th best bullpen ERA in baseball, like the 3.8 or something.
Yeah, but
Because
like
the
that's
bottom of the
even
bullpen,
misleading because Kirkring
I
throws
agree.
100 with the craziest slider you've ever seen, and Hoffman throws 100, and Strom was an all-star, and Estevez was an all-star caliber pitcher. Like everybody in that bullpen can be nasty on the right night.
Everything you're saying is correct, but for the exercise, I had to try and find one. And
I
like
get it.
that, they are lower technically than other bullpens.
I get it. So that's your only weakness for the Phillies?
I mean, I guess from postseasons past, which is not fair, and that's not what we're doing, but for the sake of the exercise, they can get a little home run happy in the playoffs, really reliant on it. But like they also do hit a lot of home runs.
Yeah.
So I get it. So like that's
I'm not
it.
worried about it. Like
Me
Schwarber's in
neither.
that lineup. I think you're fine to be home run happy, and Harper's going to get his. Like,
This is as good as the Phillies team that they've had.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. My two Mets weaknesses, I wonder how they're going to do this rotation. Like Quintana was awesome in game three. Is Quintana going to be awesome in game three again against a better lineup?
Why not? That
I
Brewers
don't know.
lineup can hit.
I know, but like I think that Phillies lineup is a different beast.
Yeah. But I ain't doubting shit.
Yeah,
I'm not
I
doubting it. I'm
get it.
not.
I totally get it. That rotation I think lacks the depth and the frontline talent that we've talked about. But the big one for me is Peterson through the ninth. And like I just said 10 minutes ago, I thought that was the right decision, which scares me.
Mhm.
Their bullpen, like Diaz, Budo looked terrified in game three.
Yeah, but Budo's been so good all year. Like, I
I
feel like
know, but
sometimes a
man,
reliever's gonna have a bad outing.
it's a
Like he's
different thing. Like throwing on a Wednesday afternoon and throwing in the postseason are two totally
but
different
he
things.
he threw in this series and was fine. Like he threw against the Braves. Like he's thrown in these big moments.
I know, but for some reason, dude, back against the wall, he did not look strong at all.
I'm gonna give him a pass. I'm giving him a
Okay,
pass. He's
fine.
been too
So
good this year that that was a bad outing.
fine.
But that's unfair to him. I
So
think.
okay, so let's play the game. Expand to Budo and Diaz.
No,
Those
I'm not
guys go
arguing
back to
after
back.
that.
After Budo and Diaz,
I like Stanek. I think Stanek is good. I think he's kind of on a heater. He's throwing
okay,
90-mile-an-hour splitters.
yeah, like okay.
Yeah.
Stanek, I don't know. Stanek is a little bit more finicky for me than a lot of those Phillies arms.
Yeah.
Then after that, like, what do we got here? I don't
No, I
think
know.
much.
There's
Reed
not a
Garrett
lot
was
of depth.
so good until he wasn't, and then he slammed into a brick wall.
Yeah. I don't know. I, I can't hear anything negative about the Mets right now.
I
Post.
know, I get it.
I
I
know.
get it.
I know.
So
But
pick a
you're
winner,
right.
man.
I Phillies fans have kicked me out of Red October because I picked against them.
Yeah.
But I will always consider myself a Red October guy. But I understand why they're kicking me out because I'm picking the Mets to win this series. I'm picking the Mets to win this series. Momentum is a real thing, people. And you got that hot hand after coming back against the Braves and then coming back in that game. This team knows they're never going to be out of it. You just beat Devin Williams. You didn't beat some rando. That's Devin Williams, who you just put a 4 spot on with the game on the line. Going into that inning, they had 2 hits. It was all indoor. Nothing was happening. But that's why they play 9. And you just can't count this Mets team out. And now they go into the series where Philly's been resting and the Mets have that momentum. There's no shot I'm picking against the Mets. Honestly, after that, I'd pick the Mets against anybody in any series right now.
How many games?
I do think that I think it goes 5, and I think there's some late game heroics in game 5 and the Mets win. I think, again, it's just going to be one of those types where it seems like they might be out, right? They might get out to a 2-0 lead and then lose 2 straight. And it feels like it's over. And they're losing in the 9th. And here they come. There's no way I can pick against the Mets. I've done this before where I pick against momentum. No shot. I'm done. I'm rolling with the Mets.
I'm picking against momentum because I feel like momentum can go to die in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
I can see that. I can see it.
Phillies in
But
4.
you're Phillies in 4. Wow. You think they
Phillies in
kind of.
4. I think momentum goes to die in Philadelphia.
No, I'm rolling with the Mets. I think this is too much. It's too
Fire
much.
me up. Okay.
Fires me up.
Little disagreement. We were aligned on the first two that we went over in the back half of this, which you will hear in a moment. You think I'm going to toss to break? I am not. There was breaking news as we started recording. The Cincinnati Reds have a new manager, and his name is Terry Francona.
What?
Terry Francona per Jeff Passan is the new manager of the Cincinnati Reds. This comes a year after he stepped away from the Cleveland Guardians, and Tito gets to get his hands on Ellie De La Cruz. I'm very excited to see Terry Francona handle this young roster.
Go from David Bell to Terry Francona.
Holy upgrade.
We will be investing in the Reds next year. That's all I'm going to say. We will be investing in the Reds next year. Also, somewhat of breaking news, which we got wrong on the back half of this episode because we recorded earlier in the day. Yoshinobu Yamamoto is starting game 1 for the Dodgers.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about that. Now, it would be 5 days rest between game 1 and game 5, so it's okay. But again, he has not exceeded 79 pitches in either of his or in any of his four starts since coming off the shelf.
Give him
It's
4
okay.
shutout.
I am excited to see him throw possibly twice in this
100%.
5 game set.
I want to see him earn some of that money in this series.
Yeah, and hey,
Like I
it
want to
would be a
because he can
cool
go off. This guy is
and
like
and
one
it
of the greatest international players to ever come over to Major League
and
Baseball.
and it would be a really cool full circle moment in the 2024 season because I remember you got up with me at 6 a.m. in Florida to watch Yamamoto debut in Korea against the
Yep.
Dodgers, and he got killed. And as soon as he got lifted, we went back to bed.
I
It's
know.
like this isn't worth it anymore.
I know. We got up so no, I think it was earlier than 6, wasn't
It
it?
might have been 5. It
Yeah, I
might have
think
been
it was
5.
I think the game started at 5:30 in the morning or something where we were at.
Yeah,
So
we
we were
got up
up.
at 5, I think. Like I brewed a coffee. I was expecting to stay up for the whole game, and like
Yeah. It was the
Yamamoto
third
got
inning.
lifted, and I was like,
I
I'm going
remember
back.
we look at each other, we're like, "Yeah, should we just go to bed? I mean, I'm exhausted. I mean, we're just watching the guy we got up for just get mollywopped.
Getting mauled, and I was like, come on, man.
All right, time to
So
talk about the other series.
before that, quick break. Time for the other 3 division series. And if you're noticing that the sun is out, it's because we didn't wait until midnight to do this one. We opted to do it at 6:20 in the evening instead. So we are going to talk about Guardians Tigers. We're going to talk about Dodgers Padres, and we're going to talk about Royals Yankees. But I don't want to be mean. There are some people out there, say the haters, that may in some alternate universe think that Chinook seedery does not produce the best seeds on the face of the earth. And I just want to say, like, those haters are so darn wrong. Have they tried the cinnamon toast before?
That, that's what I've been trying to preach. Be okay with the unknown. And the unknown is the sweet seed. Now, I posted a TikTok ranking my top 5 sunflower seed flavors. Chinook Seedery did a giveaway with Bobby Wood Jr. Quote, tweet and give us your favorite sunflower seed flavor. Every single time, number 1 was cinnamon toast. Do not knock it until you try it. Will you do me a favor? If you are a fan of the show, order yourself some Chinook seeds and try the cinnamon toast. And if you don't like them, come after me. Tell me I'm wrong. But I guarantee, well, it's hard to guarantee things, but I feel like I can guarantee that you're going to freaking love them. They are the best seeds I've ever had. No, point blank, period. That's it.
I like dunking on imaginary haters. I know that there are a lot of 5-star prospects, and you go to Alabama, you're an edge rusher, you're an All-American, you go top 5 overall in the NFL draft, and they're operating with a chip on their shoulder. Like, where did the chip come from? You've been the best since you were 15 years old. I think Chinook has been the best since they started producing seeds, but let's make up some haters for them. Let's give them let's give them a little chip on their shoulder. There
Yeah,
are haters out there, but you know what? You are the best.
you know when a company makes a really good product when the only real haters, right, when I released that video or I quote tweeted, they were just arguing about which flavor is their favorite,
Right.
not these are
So
bad
Hatch chili,
seeds, you're
lemon pepper,
wrong.
parm and pepper. Yeah.
Exactly. It's more of I don't agree with cinnamon toast, this is my favorite flavor, which I'm fine with, but those people are wrong because cinnamon toast is the best. But what I will say is I could hear out lemon pepper, I could hear out Hatch chili, I could hear out all the flavors. They're the best sunflower seeds in the country, point blank, period.
I think they're awesome. We might as well talk about the Bobby Witt series now that we did the Chinook thing because Bobby Witt's face is on the literal lemon pepper. It's not on the seed, but it's on the back in which you get the pepper from.
And so what we did, we have 2 strengths, 2 weaknesses for each team. What we're going to do is then compare those strengths and weaknesses to maybe find an edge for a team in the playoffs, right?
Yep.
If a team, let's say, is very good against right-handed pitching and the other team has a bunch of terrible righties, for example. That could be an edge where this team is going to be offensively prolific in this series. So Jack and I are going to work back and forth. We'll go strength, strength, weakness, weakness. Then we'll come up with our picks of who's going to win the series.
We're pitching the teams to each other, and we are essentially playing devil's advocate for the team that we drew as well. So we are
Yes.
boosting them up and tearing them down and seeing who nets positive in that one. I lied. We're not going to start with the Bobby Witt series. We are going to start with Guardians Tigers. The series starts in Cleveland tomorrow. I've got the Guardians. Peter has the Tigers. I'll start with the Guards. Then we go to the Gritty Tigers. Strength number 1 for the Cleveland Guardians, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Yep.
And I didn't want to limit it to 7, 8, 9. I think when you think about a super pen of bullpens past, contenders past, I think the gold standard of a super pen, quote unquote, was the Kansas City Royals in 15 when it was Kelvin Herrera to Wade Davis to Greg Holland.
This one's better.
I think so. It was.
I think this is. I'm gonna go a step further. I think this might be the best bullpen in the 21st century. It is.
I'm sure there's some like historical significance, and I would love to see just bullpen ERA. I'm sure there was a crazy bullpen in the late 2000s, early 2010s.
This Cleveland Guardians bullpen, and I don't mean to keep harping on your strikes because like this is your segment, but the Cleveland Guardians bullpen I think is my favorite unit in the entire playoffs. They have 4 guys with an ERA below 2. Emmanuel Clase is kind of transforming into one of the best closers we have ever seen. Austin Hedges I'm saying kind of because he's still 26.
Yeah,
like,
no, I think that benefits him.
I'm saying that's why I'm saying he's kind like before we crown him better than Mariano Rivera or Trevor Hoffman, we got to see a little bit more. But Austin Hedges said it himself. He thinks he's the best reliever ever at this point in time. I think he might have said like best pitcher ever. He went crazy, but I can understand why, because since he's debuted, he's been otherworldly. Cade Smith leads all relievers in F4. All of them. All of them. Tim Herron, Hunter Gaddis, these guys have 1.5, 1.9 ERAs. All 4 of them are elite relievers. And then you continue to go down the line. I didn't mean to steal your thunder here, but I am obsessed with the Guardians bullpen, and I felt like I had to.
I was just going to say thanks for doing my segment for me.
Yeah, sorry.
Clase, Gaddis, Cade Smith, Tim Herron. I think there are 3 other names that you should mention. I trust Sandlin in a playoff 6th.
Me too.
Andrew Walters and Eric Sabrowski are new to the fold. Andrew Walters, if you haven't taken a peek at his baseball reference page, go look at what he did at the University of Miami. This guy was a buzzsaw as soon as he got on campus in Coral Gables. And he continued that through the minor leagues. He ran into the blip in AAA, but getting to watch him 4 or 5 times in person in AAA, I was spellbound by the fastball slider combo. And then Eric Sabrowski, dude, I saw this guy before he hit the shelf again. He's hit the shelf a couple times with elbow things. It's at least 1 Tommy John surgery, could have been 2. I'm not entirely sure. But Sabrowski had 2 serious injuries. I saw this guy in Fort Wayne in high A in 21, and I was like, this guy's got something. And then I watched him operate out of the pen in AAA this year for Columbus, and it is fastball at the top and a hammer of a curveball. And guess what? Neither of those guys has allowed an earned run yet in their big league career.
The second edition of James Karinchak.
From the left side.
Yeah. But it's that same kind of like fastball at the top with just insane induced vertical break with just an absolute bender, and you got to guess. And normally you're going to guess wrong. And if you guess right, it's still really hard to hit. Just to continue that sentiment, because they also have guys where, let's say their starter goes 3 innings. They can cover the 4th and 5th with guys like Eli Morgan, who have a 1.9 ERA. Like they just keep going down the pipe. And then Pedro Avila, who's got like a 3.8, and he seems to be the runt of the litter. When in reality, the litter itself is full of Great Danes, and he's the size of a Rottweiler. Like it's like that. He's still really good. But when you put him up against Emmanuel Clase, what am I supposed to say? But he's still good.
Right. So great timing on strike number 1. How about your strike number 1 for the Tigers?
So Tarek Skubal.
Yeah.
And I know it sounds simple, but he's the most talented pitcher I think that we have in the playoffs so far. Not the most proven guy in the world, but if we're looking at pure stuff and we're looking at a guy on a heater, they might have the number one option in terms of starting pitching. That's not like Cole or Wheeler, who have proven it a lot in the playoffs. Like, I'll take Skubal against just about anybody. So in game one of every series, unless they face Cole or unless they face Wheeler, they're going to have a shot to win that game. And then, of course, against those guys, Skubal can dominate any lineup. Won the pitching Triple Crown. He had a test, right? His first playoff start in Minute Maid against the Astros. What did he do? Dominated them. That's as much of a strength. It seems so obvious, but to have that guy at the top, you can beat anybody, anytime, anywhere.
I think so. That's a really undervalued strength, I think, that you have the best pitcher left.
Yeah.
And I know Cole exists. I know Cole has postseason pedigree, but Skubal, I'm giving the ball to Skubal over anybody else remaining in the postseason right now.
That's fair.
Second strength for Cleveland, these are not your father's guardians when it comes to power bats. Even 2 years ago, it was Jose Ramirez and then what when it came to the big swing. You know, they can kill you with paper cuts, but they were never going to deliver the big swing. Now, I ID four guys that have that big swing potential. And it's Jose Ramirez, who hit 39 of them, Josh Naylor, who hit 31 of them, Kyle Manzardo, who is a true power bat, and Giancarlo Noel. We'll see how much they utilize Manzardo and Noel. I think one of them is going to be in the lineup at all times, but they have four distinct power options in that lineup. And that's not mentioning a David Fry or even a Lane Thomas that poked out 13. It felt like they were trying to survive on small ball in years past, and they've got a little bit more juice now. And I think that's a strength.
I agree. I think it's a strength too. I think just having, right, I'm going with Tarek Skubal, like easy answers, but the Guardians have one of the best players in the league, which is a massive strength. Like, you know, when Jose Ramirez comes up to the plate, you have as good a chance of getting a big hit as anybody in baseball, right? He finished eighth in F4, 1 home run shy of 40-40, and he got robbed on the last day of the season because the game got canceled. And you know, the baseball gods would have given him that 40th home run, and they probably would have given him the 40th double too, because that guy was ordained. Like, some guys, it just feels that the baseball gods have ordained, and Jose Ramirez is up there. So in a big moment, I don't want to face Jose Ramirez if I'm an opposing team or fans of an opposing team. No shot.
Yeah.
So my next strength is bullpen flexibility with the ultimate chess player. That's AJ Hinch with this Tigers bullpen. Because you hear about Will Vest and Bo Brisky, and I know Jason Foley, was not great against the Astros, but I still think he's a good reliever. But it's not even just those guys. It's the fact that AJ Hinch can go with pitchers in any inning at any time when he feels that the matchup is best. And I think that he has the best eye for identifying these matchups. They can go Reese Olson, Brant Herter, Kyder Montero, Jackson Jobe. All of those guys can go multiple innings. And we just talked about the Tigers bullpen when we recap the series yesterday. So I'm not going to name all the names, but if you've been watching Tigers baseball, you may never even have heard of them, but they throw up a 0 in that one inning. Then the next guy does. Then the next guy does. And AJ Hinch is putting them in perfect spots to do so, because it's one thing to have a talented reliever. It's another thing for your manager to know where to place you, right? Whenever a team loses in the playoffs, everyone wants to fire the manager. No matter what happens with the Tigers, no Tigers fan is going to say that was Hinch's fault. I mean, anything could happen. It's baseball. Like, he could make a mistake. But among the managers left, I have the most faith in him to put the right chess pieces on the board in order to win.
And that's entirely fair. Weaknesses now. My first weakness with Cleveland is, I'm sure, something that you're going to have with Detroit. Rotation chaos. Bybee's going game 1. Boyd game 2. Lively. Gavin Williams in his high 4s. Joey Cantillo, who looks sharp down the stretch, but his macro season is in the high 4s. Where do you go here? The bullpen's the best unit in baseball. I'm with you. It's probably the best singular unit remaining in the postseason, but I don't know how they're starting the game after Tanner Bybee.
So I don't have pitching chaos for the Tigers as a weakness, because I fully come around to the other side, and I'm just embracing this. Starter at this point needs to give you 3 innings. 3. Allow one run because then they could go to Eli Morgan. Then they could go to Pedro Avila. And then we're in the 5th inning. And then they throw in a slew of like the best relievers in baseball
Right.
all in a row. So, yes, I agree with you. Like when I look at the Guardians, I'm thinking to myself, oh man, Ben Lively starting game 2? Okay. He'll throw 3 innings, 4 maybe. He'll keep going if he's pitching well, or I'll have a short leash and then they'll go to the best bullpen in baseball. Like I think they can win games regardless of who starts. So I agree with you. The talent level in that starting rotation outside of Bybee is arguably one of the worst in the playoffs.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to matter. I really don't. I think, and I'm sure you're going to get to another weakness probably on offense, because I have 2 for the Tigers that relate to their offense, 2 different areas that I don't love right now.
What's your first one?
So my first one is just a lack of power. And I think power is super, super important in the playoffs, especially when you're facing elite pitching all the time, right? You need a guy to get that big hit to hit the home run. Now, Parker Meadows did go yard, right? But even their best hitters like Riley Green, Kerry Carpenter, they're not power guys, right? They're not, oh, I can hit a home run at any moment. They're good hitters, but there's not a lot of power here. They have, and I'm giving the Tigers a break for their first half. Like, we know the story. We know that they were not a very good team. We know that on August 11th, right, everyone's ball, the demarcation moment, 0.2%. So I'm not going to look at their first half, which will lower a lot of their stats. I'm looking at the second half. So I'm giving them the credit. They still, in the second half, have the 23rd ranked slugging percentage and the 5th lowest amount of home runs. I think if they get into a pinch, stringing together hits is going to be very challenging for this team against elite pitching. Now, they were able to do it against the Astros, but to continue to do it throughout the playoffs is a really tall task. So I am worried about the power output for Detroit.
Okay, so I'm worried about the power output for Cleveland, and I get a little bit tighter in terms of my zoom into the Guardian lineup. My second weakness is unproven blasts. I highlighted Manzardo and Noel as being power presences, and that I think is a strength. But the weakness is Manzardo and Noel have never been here. How do we know that they're going to perform when they're up in a big spot? That's inevitable. Brian Rocchio is going to be up in a big spot. Like David Fry's going to be up in a big spot. There's going to be someone that isn't named Jose Ramirez or Josh Naylor that is up in a massive, massive spot for the Cleveland Guardians. Are they going to get it done? I have no idea. That's
So
my weakness.
I was almost gonna say, well, how could you say that? Like, how could you say that a team has a positive and a weakness like at the same time? And then I thought about it while you were talking, and I was like, I think it's actually what you did is identified a major X factor, like
Huge.
almost on accident, or I don't know if you did it on
No, not
purpose.
on accident. It's on purpose. I have a single sentence to
Yes,
explain my reasoning for this series.
that's like the thing if the Guardians are going to make it, right? We know they're going to pitch. We know that. But can you get the big hit? So there's a strength of they have the guys to do it with the potential. The weakness is we haven't seen it.
Yes.
So I came back around. I was going to make fun of you. I'm like, wait, now I kind
No.
of get it altogether.
Unreal that you thought that was unintentional. This was entirely intentional. Everything I do serves a purpose.
All right. All right. Let's get to my last weakness for the Tigers. And again, I'm going to harp on the offense a little bit. They have a, they strike out a lot. They do, which is
Yeah.
a problem in the playoffs, right?
Yes.
If you're whiffing constantly, right? You want to put the ball in play in the playoffs. We know that obviously defenses are good, but the more you put the ball in play, the better your luck is going to be,
It's how
right?
baseball
We've
has worked since old Hoss was on the hill.
exactly. And they have the 3rd highest strikeout rate in baseball in the second half. This isn't comparing to just playoff teams. This is the highest in Major League Baseball, 3rd highest, excuse me. 26%. That's a lot of strikeouts when
It
you're
is.
going to be facing a lot of good pitching. So when you combine a very strikeout laden team that doesn't have a lot of power, this pitching staff is going to have to carry the load and they're going to need big hits in big spots.
Yep. Who's your winner? How many games and why?
So it's tough because if these 2 teams, there was no rest advantage, right, or disadvantage. I don't even know what that's going to look like because Arm is still sticking in my head. And obviously, watching these simulated games, it does seem like these teams are ready. So if they were all created equal, I would say the Guardians for sure. But this is so tough because I have the momentum on one side.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, and why I am going to go with the Guardians is because I think a lot of what makes the Tigers great, the Guardians also have. So everything that I love about the Tigers, like the Tigers don't have Jose Ramirez in the lineup. They don't even have a Josh Naylor. Like they have Kerry Carpenter, who they don't even use against left-handed pitching.
Yeah.
I can't get over that. And then it's like all the positives of the Tigers, the bullpen, the flexibility, the manager. Guardians have Stephen Vogt. Guardians have the best bullpen in baseball. We're talking about Skubal and pitching chaos. Bybee in pitching chaos. Like I know Skubal's better than Bybee, but Bybee can pitch against anybody at any time.
Correct.
That's why I'm going to go with the Guardians, but it's going to be a battle. Like I think this is going to be a series where it's 2-1 Tigers, then 3-2 Guardians, then 4-3 Tigers. Like it's going to be back and forth. I think it takes every single game in the series. I think it's an absolute battle, but I'm going to go with the Guardians just by a hair.
Yeah.
By a like so razor thin.
So you took the words right out of my mouth. I also have Guardians in 5, and my singular sentence to tie it all together is I think the Guardians are going to clip enough homers to win this series.
Yeah.
I think that they are going to hit 2 more baseballs out of the ballpark than the Detroit Tigers, and those home runs are going to mean everything. I think the long ball is going to mean everything in this
Yeah.
series, and I like the Guardians' chances at out homering the Tigers over 5 games, 5 very tight games, but 5 tight games.
Yeah, I could see that too because it's also like I'm a little bit worried about the Tigers bullpen in terms of how many innings they've thrown. The Guardians bullpen has been throwing innings all year long. Like they have kind of the same problems and kind of the same strengths, and that's why I don't care. Like I understand this is not the most marketable series, but I think it has a chance to be the most competitive. Maybe we'll talk Dodgers Padres. That's going to be
We'll talk
crazy.
Dodgers Padres.
That's a different kind of series, but this is must watch for other reasons. Like if you are a pitching enjoyer, if you are a chess match enjoyer, this is going to be cinema.
No doubt. Kansas City and the Yankees. They get going tomorrow in New York. I've got the Royals. You've got the Yankees.
Yep.
Start with the Yankees' strength number 1.
So I think that the Yankees' biggest strength, right? Obviously, Aaron Judge and Juan Soto are the Yankees' biggest strength, but they are the best team in baseball against right-handed pitching. And more often than not, you are going to see more righties than lefties, right? Of course, the Royals have Cole Reagan, so we can talk about how Cole Reagans could potentially have a good start. But Lugo, Waka, Singer, right? A lot of the Royals bullpen. I know they have Zerpa, and I know they have Bubich, and I know they have some lefties, but overall, the Yankees are going to see more righties. And the Yankees, like being the best team at something you're going to face the most is enormous. Do you know who was number 1 in the American League last year against right-handed pitching?
Is it the Rangers?
The Texas Rangers.
Okay.
You're going to see more righty starters all series long. You're going to see more righties in the bullpen. And the Yankees are not just great, they are the best in baseball, which is huge. Whenever a righty comes on the mound, you are facing the best lineup against your handedness.
Yeah. I'm going to hang out on your Soto and Judge point because strength number 1 for me for Kansas City is they have a bona fide superstar performing like one.
Yep.
That's massive. Bobby Witt Jr.'s presence is everything for the Kansas City offense right now.
And I love that you brought up and is performing right now because that's not created equal on all teams.
No, it's not.
Right? We've seen teams have really great players who just don't show up. Bobby Witt Jr. in his first playoff series drove in almost every run for the Royals in those 2 games.
Yes.
So not only is he already elite going into the series, he's performed in back-to-back games, and there's no reason to believe that he cannot continue to dominate.
Right.
So my next strength, again, it's along the lines of Tarek Skubal, but a proven playoff performer at the top of the rotation in Garrett Cole. Garrett Cole has thrown 104 innings in the playoffs. 2.93 ERA, 134 strikeouts. Skubal is amazing. He might be the most talented pitcher right now in the game. But Jack, you talk about how important experience is.
Yeah.
He has experience, And going into the year, he was the number one pitcher in baseball. Like
Yeah,
combining those two, only the Yankees and the Phillies can say that they have one of those guys.
and I will reiterate that I would choose Tarek Skubal to start a game for me today. If I had a must-win playoff game today, Tarek Skubal is going for me. But the allure of Cole, the allure of Wheeler, and what they can do in the postseason, Skubal hasn't had the opportunity to match it yet.
Yeah,
I think that Skubal can. I like to think that Skubal will, but Cole and Wheeler already have established the precedent, which I think is really important.
I agree. Like you know what? I will slightly disagree with you. Like I would winner take all game 7. I would go Wheeler or Cole. I would
Wheeler, okay.
just because
I
of
go.
just
I
because they
probably
are.
go Skubal, then
Yeah,
Wheeler, then Cole.
that's fair. I would. I mean, we're splitting hairs. They're all fucking awesome,
Yeah,
but yeah, I would if Scooble is. Yeah, I mean Scooble's great.
he's great.
We'll just move on
No hold
because
to poke there.
I was about to get into another argument. I was like, we're gonna be arguing on this for way too long. We got to
Yeah,
talk
no,
about more
the
strengths and
hole you
weaknesses.
poke in that is like we haven't had the opportunity to watch Skubal do it yet.
Exactly. That's all that it is because we see the talent.
Yeah, and I'm saying embrace your imagination. So that is your strength number two. My strength number two, the first 5 innings and the ninth inning. Michael Waka, Cole Reagan, Seth Lugo. I know that the Yankees are elite against right-handed pitching, but those three have been awesome. Waka has been one of the best pitchers in baseball since the All-Star break. Reagans and Lugo were all-stars, and I know Lugo tapered off a little bit. I clumped the ninth in as well because Lucas Urseg, in his 2 outings in the wild card series, was in elite form. I watched a guy throw the ninth inning and I said, who on earth is going to touch that? And
Yeah.
the answer might be Soto and Judge. But like, I think it's GG's Glaber Torres. Like, I take a seat, Anthony Volpe. Like, I don't see a world where Anthony Volpe comes up with a big hit against Lucas Ursek. He is throwing that well.
No, I agree with you about Volpe, not Glaber. Glaber, since he moved into leadoff role,
I
like
know
we will not.
he's been great, but at
He's
the
been
end of the
great.
day, I think Urseg is operating at a different level.
That's fair. But he also faced the poverty Orioles. No, I'm just kidding, Orioles fans. I'm sorry. I didn't mean it. I didn't mean it. Kind of meant it. I
We
did mean it.
we did say they flatlined yesterday.
They did flatline.
That's kind
So
of a tough
we'll
game,
have to
but
see. But I totally see what you're saying. If we're talking about playoff rotations left, and then you got a closer who's just going to shut it down, it's a pretty good formula.
yeah.
All right, let's get to my first weakness for the Yankees. They're the worst base running team in the league. Not among just playoff teams. They're the worst base running team in the league. And that is quantified by BSR, which is a stat on Fangraphs, which grades runners. And they have the lowest BSR of any team in the league this year. And the only playoff team with less stolen bases this year is the Tigers. Like the Yankees are not very good at going first to third. They're a very slow team, so getting from home to or getting from second to home is not no
No,
guarantee
it's
for
tough.
this Yankees team. So that is a weakness, right? When you're the worst at something,
Yeah.
in an area where it's important, where all the little things matter, like that's a shitty thing to have for the Yankees.
Yeah. I'm with you.
Yeah.
My weakness number one is lineup depth. Vinny's playing with a hand that is likely nowhere close to full health. I was going to call it paper mache, but that's not fair because it had time to, harden and become, a real hand again. But Vinny, like, I know he drove in a run in game 2 of the wild card series, but that guy is a month removed from surgery to repair a hand. He's one of 4 guys with an OPS plus over 100 in this lineup. Bobby Witt Jr., we know, we've established that. Salvador Perez, Vinny, Michael Massey has a 105 OPS plus in 100 games. So I wonder what happens. And they won a game 2-1 and they won a game 1-0. I don't know if the lineup is deep enough to contend with the Yankees. If the Yankees score 3, does Kansas City have a counter for that? I don't know.
Yeah. No, I agree. Like that was the Royals, I think, big bugaboo coming into this game, right? No team is perfect, but the Royals, like you have Bobby Witt Jr., you have Vinny coming back from a hand issue. Now, Salvador Perez kind of does own the Yankees. He's got 16 home runs in 68 games against the Yankees.
He's also playing in the postseason. Like I'm not
Yeah.
ever going to count Salvador Perez out of the postseason.
I wouldn't either. So they got those 3 and then who? I think that's kind of what we're dealing with. Like Michael Massey, like you said, is a fine hitter, but I mean like a 105 WRC plus.
105, like fine.
Yeah,
Everybody
fine.
else is below average when it comes to OPS plus.
I think that's the issue. So my second weakness for the Yankees is I'm very nervous about the 9th inning. Because the Yankees, right? You have Clay Holmes, you have Tommy Kahnle, you have Ian Hamilton, and you have Luke Weaver. All of them have recorded saves. And they're all good in their own right, right? Like I've been banging the drum for Tommy Kahnle to be the closer of this team. I still think Clay Holmes is a good reliever. I just don't think that he is an elite closer like the Yankees try to pretend that he is. I think Luke Weaver has been an incredible story. I still like Ian Hamilton, but it's like I haven't seen Luke Weaver in the playoffs, right? I haven't seen Ian Hamilton dominate in the playoffs. I don't trust Holmes in the ninth. And maybe it is Kahnle, but again, not a bona fide closer.
Yeah.
So if it's 4-3, if it's 3-2, right? Like in your scenario, Yankees score 3, Royals score 2. I'm not sold that the Yankees just close it out every time. And this is even if they beat the Royals and go beyond. Like that is a big bugaboo for the Yankees.
For sure. When they get to the CS,
Yeah.
if they get to the CS, if they get to the World Series, I'm with you. The ninth does scare me. Weakness number 2 for Kansas City is they just don't hit the ball out of the ballpark enough. They were 20th in Major League Baseball in homers post All-Star break.
Yeah.
They're going to a ballpark in the Bronx where the Yankees win games because they hit the ball out of the ballpark. Can you match them in that?
Yeah.
The answer is like a firm no coming into this series, which sucks. I don't know if anybody's going to clip enough. Bobby Witt hits a big homer. Okay. You tell me Vinny's going to hit a big homer that same game. You're telling me Salvi's going to hit a big homer that same game. I don't know. I don't think they can score in bunches with 2-3 big swings.
Yeah, and we could just get to our predictions now. Like I think the Yankees dominate this series. Now I know I'm a Yankee fan, so maybe that sounds like a homer, but I do my homework here. The Yankees are going to face 3 righties and 1 lefty. We'll give them the Cole Reagan start. I got the Yankees winning in 4.
Dude, we're matched. This sucks. We both went Cleveland in 5, and we're both going Yankees in 4.
We're smart.
We'll switch it up. Yeah, we're going to switch it up for the National League. I'm not worried about it. But I'm not going to alter my course of thinking because you're on the same side. Like, I
No,
just can't do that.
But the thing is, we're coming to like conclusions together. So it's not surprising that we're both aligned on the first 2 series.
Yeah, fair. So, I also have the Yankees in 4, and I had the exact reasoning. They win the Reagan start because Reagan goes 6 shutout, and they can't hit a lefty, and then
Well, they can hit lefties. Like that's the thing. Their offense is great. It's just
Right.
107 WRC plus.
No, they can't hit
120.
that lefty. Sorry.
Exactly. And Reagan's is a dog.
Reagan's
Like,
is a dog.
dog.
Absolute dog. So we both have the Yankees in 4. Now for the doozy.
This is
Dodgers
the World Series.
This
is
essentially is the World Series.
This is incredible.
Dodgers Padres. I have the Dodgers. You have the Padres. Do you want to go first, or you want me to go first?
I'll go first. Strength number 1, balance. Balance like no other team in the sport. 3 great starting pitching options in Michael King, Dylan Cease, and Yu Darvish. Dominant bullpen that can give you so many different looks. Line up with both power and contact throughout it with an experienced manager, right? They don't have the best lineup in the playoffs. You could make an argument they have the best bullpen in the playoffs, but probably not because you'd give it to the Guardians. They don't have the best rotation in the playoffs now that Musgrove is out, but they have one of the best. I wouldn't say they have the best manager, but they have one of the best.
Yeah.
They have one of the best home field advantages with those fans. They're so unbelievably balanced. That's why I called them the best team in the playoffs so far, is because from 1 to 25 or even a 40-man roster, there's no weaknesses. And right, we're going to get to the weaknesses. I promise I tried to find them. But it's just like they're not totally elite. They're not the best in one category, but they're top 3 among playoff teams in everything. That's why the Padres are so dangerous here.
They are playing in a way that would send a shiver down my spine if I'm a Dodger fan. Like, I would get legitimately nervous after watching that 2-game sweep over Atlanta. And I know that Atlanta, we talked about it, was playing with an arm tied behind their back, but they're playing in a way that I do believe should invoke a little bit of fear in Dodger fans.
A lot of fear.
A lot of
fear.
fear.
I know. All of my friends from home are Dodger fans. They are not excited about facing the Padres. They're excited to watch the games because they're going to be World Series-esque. But every Dodger fan listening sees the Padres coming, and I don't think that they're very excited to face that team.
No. Strength number 1 for me, for the Dodgers, what do you think it is?
Ohtani. It's fast.
Shohei Ohtani and Mookie Betts are in the lineup.
Pretty good.
They also have Teoscar Hernandez, Will Smith, Freddie Freeman, Max Muncy, and everybody else.
Yeah.
So the lineup is strength number one.
And I love this lineup so much because they could just do so many different things. They're fast. They hit for power. They hit for average. Not a big strikeout team. Plenty of walks in there. Like, I think the Yankees might. Who do you think lineup is better, Dodgers or Yankees?
I
Probably
think the Dodger
Dodgers.
lineup is better.
Yeah, I would say so too. Because the Dodgers, it's so funny. I was looking at the stats. Like the Yankees are number 1 against righties and like number 7 against lefties. Dodgers are like 2 against righties and 4 against lefties. I mean, they're so good. So yeah, I mean that's a strength. Just like arguably the best lineup in the playoffs.
Crooked numbers.
Yeah. So my next strength for the Padres, right? Harped on this with the Tigers as a weakness. The lowest strikeout rate in baseball. The Padres have the highest team batting average, right? We talk about power, but what I do know is that no matter who the Padres face, they're going to put the bat on the ball. That's a fact, right? And that can lead to rallies, right? If you get an infield hit or something like that, like with Luis Arias, they have him at the top of the lineup. Xander Bogaerts bat to ball, like even Fernando Tatis. He's not a big strikeout guy. Now there's Machado. None of them strike out much, which is huge. Again, of course they have power, but the fact is they have the highest batting average and the lowest strikeout rate. Massive.
Yeah. My second strength is whatever happens after the starter leaves. Evan Phillips was the closer for a long time, but now they have arms that rival, I think, the Guardians and the Padre bullpen. Vesia, Kopech, Trinan, Daniel Hudson, Joe Kelly, Anthony Banda, Edgardo Enriquez, who just got up and throws fuel. They've got numbers. They've got guys that can just jump on you with 100, with 98, with a crazy breaking ball, with a nasty split, and then you've got Enriquez throwing 104. Scary.
Yeah, they're really. I mean, they're an incredible team. All right, let's get to weaknesses for the Padres. I only could find one. Come after me.
That's
in the YouTube comments. Let me know. Find me a big time weakness. I texted Javi, who hosts Locked On Padres, and I said, "What is the biggest weakness on the Padres?" And he said, "Bogarts." And I was like, that's your biggest weakness? Like a guy who's not hitting this year, really? Like he didn't have a great year?
$290 million player.
That's what I'm saying. And I know that he has a long track record of hitting the piss out of baseballs. So it's like that's coming from the Padres guy. And he tried to come up with some things. We like had to brainstorm. And here's what I came up with. They have the 4th lowest walk rate in the league. Okay. So if for whatever reason the lineup starts to go cold, they haven't shown that they're going to take the free pass when it's given to them in order to just get some guys on base. They're going to try and swing their way out of it. That could end up being a real issue for them.
Yeah.
I mean, you know this Padres team. Like, what would you say another weakness is?
Rotation depth with no Musgrove. It's tough.
They got 3 with an insane bullpen.
I know. It is tough to identify, dude.
Yeah. Like Kyle Higashioka.
I would have pointed to the catching position, but Higashioka went yard twice in the 2 wildcard games.
I get Donovan Solano is like not the best 8 hitter in the world, but he's still pretty good.
Don't care. Yeah.
Yeah, like
it's fine. I don't know. Their
manager is good. Everything is good.
Okay, here's my pitch for a second weakness. The highs for San Diego are not as high as the highs for the Dodgers. And what I mean by that is they've got some superstars, no doubt about it. Tatis went yard. Merrill had a great game. Machado is Machado. But I don't think that, compares to Ohtani and Betts and Freeman if he feels right.
Okay, like I agree with you. They don't have quite the top end talent of the Dodgers, but they're deeper than the Dodgers.
Yeah, I'm with you. So I'm just trying to pitch another weakness to you.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like I thought of all these things. Like, oh yeah, well, Ohtani versus Tatis, I would take Ohtani. But like Tatis is awesome.
Tatis is awesome.
So yeah.
I'll lay out my weaknesses for the Dodgers here. The weaknesses, an easy one is Freddie Freeman's right ankle.
Yeah.
He's probable for Saturday. It could limit mobility in the field and on the base paths. I read what Dave Roberts was saying. He said he's very, very optimistic that he will be in the lineup for game 1. The second weakness, they're not that great of a defensive team.
Yeah.
Like they are below league average in pretty much every defensive metric that you look at. I think DRS, they're like fourth or fifth in baseball, but outs above average, I think they're a net negative team when it comes to outs above average. So, they struggle in that regard. The Dodgers, in terms of outs above average, yeah, -3. They are 19th in Major League Baseball. But the other big weakness for me, like really the only weakness that I truly want to identify here, is the unknown. And I mean that when it comes to the starting rotation. And you could say, "What? They have Yamamoto and Flaherty." Yamamoto has made 4 starts since returning from his injury. He has not eclipsed 80 pitches. He has not gone past 5 innings. Jack Flaherty has thrown what, 2 innings out of the Baltimore bullpen in the postseason since his last outing in 2020 with the St. Louis Cardinals. When you think real postseason start, you have to go back to 2019 for Jack Flaherty. And I know that he was awesome this year. I don't know what it's going to look like 5 years later. Walker Buehler still trying to find his footing on a start by start basis. Like it looks a little different every night. And I think it's ticking upwards. It's totally trending upwards. And I'm very excited for this. And I have full faith that he's going to ball. But at the end of the day, like his ERA was in the mid fives. Landon Knack has never done this before. So it's the unknown in the starting rotation that should give Dodger fans the heebie jeebies.
And maybe I'm biased. I think Bueller's going to be sick.
I
I
think
think
Bueller's
Bueller
going to
wins them a
shove.
game. Bueller has great numbers against the Padres, and he's shoved against them before. Like I think that Bueller could potentially have the best start of all of the Dodgers in
I think
this
so.
series.
I don't know how long Yamamoto's going to go. That is
Yeah.
one of the big X factors for me.
Luckily,
Because
they can go to
Yamamoto
that bullpen.
cannot go on short rest. If they are up against it, Yamamoto goes what, game 1, right?
No,
Or is
I
it
think
Flaherty
Flaherty's
game
going to go game 1. Yeah.
Flaherty's going to go game 1. You can go Flaherty on short rest. But if you run into, yeah, because Flaherty would go game 5, you won't run into this situation. Think about it down the line, though. NLCS, Yamamoto cannot go on 4 days rest. Like, you cannot let that happen. You signed this guy to a decade-long deal. You have to protect him.
Yeah. I wonder
He's
what
going to
Dave
be
Roberts
heavily
is going to
guarded.
do.
Yeah.
So what do you got?
Dodgers in 5. Big swings from the top of the order.
I'm going Padres in 4. I think Bueller gets them a win. I do.
You
I think
think they
Bueller
lose
gets them
every
the
other
win.
game?
I think Cease beats Flaherty. Darvish versus Yamamoto. First of all, I mean Japan that's going to be that's with Ohtani in that game too. I mean that's just perfect. They might win that game, but Darvish is a dog. Like Darvish is way more proven than Yamamoto is in the playoffs. I think Bueller gets them a win, and then I think Knack versus, it might be a bullpen game, you know what? Actually, I'm going to change it. I'm going to go Padres in 5. I'm going to go Padres in 5. It's going to be a great series. But I'm going through the matchups, and I'm like, the Dodgers can hit Cease. Dodgers are really good against these fastball slider. Like these guys that throw field, they can hit those. They have no problem with those guys. And that's a lot of what the Padres have. I think this is going to be a very high-scoring series. But I'm sticking with my guns. Like I think the Padres are the best team left, and I think that they win in 5.
It'll be Flaherty Cease, like you mentioned. Then it'll be Yamamoto Darvish. Then it'll be Bueller King.
Yeah. Shit. Bueller King's unbelievable.
This is going to be a hell of a series.
This is going to be box office. Say goodbye.
Say goodbye.
Yeah, we got to go watch Mets versus Brewers. So you heard about that on the opening of this podcast. And if you enjoyed the show, the best way to support is just hitting that like button, hitting that subscribe button on YouTube, but also rate, review 5 stars, whether it be on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to your podcast. A 5-star review, again, or a written review, anything like that is the best way to support this show. Go get your Just Baseball merch in the episode description. Don't be like Jack, who's not wearing merch. Be like Peter, who is wearing merch. Go get yours. Episode description, code JB15, 15% off merch. Code Just Baseball on Game Time. Code Just Baseball on BetMGM. For Jack McMullen, I'm Peter Apple. Have a great weekend. We're going to recap everything on Monday. And with that, thank you, everybody.